those who loved our pilot video, I don't know how many people loved it, but there were a few people who saw it, and I think we need to say thank you to them. So thank you. Kind of encouraged us to have this conversation, right? And also Mukesh Ambani ji, thank you for acquiring Campa Cola. So sent us triggers.
Yeah.
Right. So we kind of decided that we kind of bash out our favorite 90s brands that either exist in very different unwanted formats and unwanted being used strongly. But brands that are very close to our hearts, or we have some stories and we will talk about those stories. And then the marketers in us thought, why don't we see what we can do if we were to get those brands and resurrect them, right? So that's where we go. So who wants to kickstart? Who's got the first few brands? We're going to throw Preetam on the deep end. Preetam, go for it.
As always, yeah. Jena. By the way, Jena, we got feedback that you mentioned that Bengalis have taken over Rasgullas, but many folks from your state did reach out back to me and Oni as well. That the Rasgullas are still with you. It's okay. So you can chill and start.
I still contest that, but whatever. You can't bring in God and then win an argument in India. Of course, you will win that argument.
Jena, go for it.
3 brands that I wanted to speak about in this particular podcast today, and very close to my heart because there are like a lot of these stories that are built around from my childhood around these 3 proper brands. The first one I'm going it's called Rajdoot. I'm pretty sure you guys are aware of those big bulky bikes back then, but I'm specifically talking about one particular bike, which was Rajdoot Yamaha 350cc. Now, a very interesting story about this is in one of the earliest movies of Subhash Ghai, who is I think the pioneer of brand placement within the movies. He had used this particular bike in the movie called Hero, wherein it was brilliantly used, wherein Jackie Shroff was using that particular bike and wins the contest over there. It was kind of a race, I think, and it was very integral 10 minutes of that particular video. So anyways.
Which of you two buggers had Jackie Shroff ka poster on your wall?
Not me. I'm just realizing that all the Gen Z folks who are Tiger Shroff fans, they are just judging our age, like left, right, and center, like thinking that Jena is to be a fan of Jackie.
I'm just talking about Jackie Shroff. This movie is 1983, if I'm not wrong, 83 or 85. So I was not even born then. My dad was a very ballsy fellow. He bought this 350cc bike when I don't think he was earning much, but then he got that bike, and I have special recollection of that sound, that it will start off like crazy when others in my neighborhood would be riding around in so-called Chetaks and the Lunas of that time. I would be frightfully be on the sitting on the tanks of this massive bike and whizzing around to the school, and that's a very fond memory that I have. It was so ahead of its time that it was actually called a suicide machine, because what it was a 350cc bike, and which was a 2-stroke engine. So it would be like running super fast from 0 to 60, and which was very difficult to control because the bike itself was very bulky. I think in due course of time, what has happened is this big bulky category is just become this smooth rider kind of a thing, wherein all these big riders like Thunderbird and all of these things, which are like they call them Hathis, right? So Hathis on the road just zooming past, something like that. But the pace, the zing of that bike is totally gone, and I think it's high time. It should be resurrected. I think what Mahindra is doing, they have gone along with resurrecting these old brands like ASD, Java, and other brands. They're coming in, making back an entry, making a comeback. So that's something I think gives wings to this dream of mine that I'll see that Yamaha Rajdoot 350 on the roads again.
And after the Thar, I think Mahindra does have credits to be able to pull this one out.
Zip zap zoom, Oni.
Right.
Okay, Zip Zap Zoom has to be not edited. It
Onish.
shall be in the video. We shall let people judge you with Zip Zap Zoom. One of the brands that I would love to see resurrected, because it's still around, it's still the largest, most distributed channel, would be Doordarshan. But there was something. Okay, we get it. It was pre-liberalization. Doordarshan had its heydays, but really, Doordarshan set standards which were very less, right? Very few people have pulled off. What I felt about Doordarshan was the sheer behemoth it is, right? And I'll come to infrastructure, but the sheer behemoth it is amazing. Now, come to think of it, companies or brands that are trying to emulate content as its main platform are, and here I shamelessly and ridiculously take brands like Disney or the BBCs of the world. Doordarshan might just have the infrastructure ready. It might just have the funding ready. What it creates for a 90s kid like me is I've grown up to Tap Tap Dooby Dooby Doob Message Doobe, right? And Jungle Book and the Sundays that had everything. Sunday mornings were meant to be TV. You were
Correct.
The idea of couch potato became a Sunday morning phenomenon, right? From breakfast to lunch, you were packed. It was children's time. There was in hindsight extremely melodramatic stuff like Chandrakanta also, which Alekhya loves. We shall let you keep judging him. But there was a Swaiman, there was a Dekh Bhai Dekh. There was, and I'm a Batman bat freak. Right, I've seen Adam West on Saturday afternoons 4 o'clock. For me, that's where Batman love began. So I think every 90s kid has one story to tell. And today, if I were to overhaul Doordarshan, it would be marvelous because you can create content which is regional. You can put India to the world, right? What it also lends is, look at the pride BBC puts out. Artists across the UK would give an arm to work for a brand like a BBC, whether it's BBC One or BBC Two or iPlayer or even the new age formats. BBC Radio is the biggest radio channel, right?
Correct.
It is still the state broadcast, right? It is still a lot of content churned out about UK and UK's identity, but they keep it very contemporary. They produce films, they do everything, right? Move to an HBO. What I think it gives you a platform is, and in a very non-political way, if done, could put India on the map, right? A DD is still a very lovely, tagline to it, right? Could just really overhaul everything from content in India if someone sees a vision to put it out there.
Yeah,
massive. Its infrastructure is in place. It has. I'm not sure anybody from Alia Bhatt to an Amitabh Bachchan would. I just realized they have the same initials. Would say no to being able to come up with content for Doordarshan if done the right way. Right.
Correct.
I think it's the Great India story that needs to be told, which the Mirzapurs of the world are trying to do.
Well, I don't recollect all of them, but I specifically remember Shriman Srimati because I used to love that show. So what used to happen was, as kids, there was specific time for studying, right? 6 to 9, you have to study, and this would come down at 8 to 8:30 when you're at the peak, and we would always get like that 30 minutes walk away interval kind of
bribe.
Abhi pad lo to
and then we'll get that.
Chitrahar on Fridays and Wednesdays, and the Sunday evening movie.
So these were, if you realize, these were like markers for the days of the week, right? These shows itself, they became, and for me, the emotional association with Doordarshan would be probably the Shah Rukh Khan shows, like 4G and also Circus. And that's where I fell in love with the man, and there is no other way to put it. And then 89, 90, and then we are being gender fluid here, and then so on.
I didn't judge you in that league.
Audi, I don't need you need to say it out loud when you're judging me. but I think I think in Doordarshan, I think you touched upon it, only the bit that probably Doordarshan and the folks behind them knew India like no one else. And like you said, that the TVFs of the world are making the Panchayat and similar sort of shows. But Doordarshan had Surbhi. If you guys remember that heap of letters, those used to come in Siddharth Kak and
I have sent so many.
You have sent
I
so
have
many,
said
all of
myself,
us have
yeah.
written some postcard or the other, which I'm sure lay in some part of the heap, and you were wishing that Renuka-san picks it up or Siddhartha. But I think imagine that being resurrected in a way which is, friendly in today's distribution reality, right? And I mean, like you picked up the right example, BBC. There is so much love from the British audience for that channel and the entity yet, and I think there is something that is latent inside Doordarshan as well. You've brought out in the right way. So, while listening to you, I think so many memories, associations got rekindled. And
I will not, however, miss turning the antenna ghuma ghuma ke. Dikh raha hai, kuch aaya, kuch aaya. I will not miss that.
Okay, I'll go with actually sticking to TVs. I think the first one that I want to talk about is because I'm a quizzer, and I think I do miss a quiz contest of the year, like something like a Bournvita quiz contest, which was a definite entity that all of us have some memory or the other. Again, a Sunday morning sort of phenomenon, and there were so many avatars of it over the years, and probably that needs to be brought back. Like today, you will struggle to remember a proper quiz contest show, right? So there have been masterminds, there have been quiz times before my time, but I've seen the recordings, etc. There's some proper quiz contest in the garb of being a good in-depth quiz show. That's something that I want to be resurrected. Probably Bournvita and Cat, the folks at Mondelez, if they are here listening to this. Yeah, correct. See, and Oni again, very happy to see that Oni has done his homework and has got the books. And again, such a universe can be created around it, right? The distribution today is definitely not physical books, so maybe online, so much of knowledge can be built around it. And you're right. I mean, there are so many compendiums of Bournvita quiz books which Derek O'Brien and his company Big Ideas got out, right? All of us have got those omnibus and the compendiums. I don't know what you guys think about that.
And then looked very smart in the school quiz.
Yeah.
Because the questions are copied from there.
Actually, the best thing about all these shows were they were pan-India shows, right? So they would be going around to different schools and doing all those shows. And the times that a BQC or a Limca quiz, Limca record quiz would come to your schools, it used to be like a festival kind of a thing, right? And becoming the number one there, then going to the inter-school thing, there used to be a big thing. And I strongly believe that inter-school quiz culture, I'm not too sure if it's there. I would assume that would be still there in Kolkata and all. But I don't see it anywhere else.
Yeah. Okay, go on. Let's keep this going. Jena, back to you again.
Brilliant. So talking about that, very specific, Chacha Chowdhury. I think that's one brand that's very, very Indian, right? So out of all the comics in India, which most of them have borrowed their backgrounds from different Marvel comics or DC comics, I think there is hardly any parallel to Chacha Chowdhury. This almost 60-year-old person with a small frame and computers every day dimag. So
how will that line be rewritten? I wonder in today's day and age.
Computers ka super computer hoega. I don't know. It'll be really fun to resurrect that brand altogether. I don't know why it died in the first place. Why is there nothing in the pop culture right now? I would love to own certain.
Do they still print them? I mean, somebody prints it, I guess. No.
I don't see them in stores.
Diamond Comics, right?
Yeah. Have you seen them in any of the stores? So I haven't seen.
No, not in the bookstores. Crossword, I don't know.
Yeah, and plus they do not have any digest and all those things. Are like used to get it every week or something, right? So they would come up in the bookstores and we will collect them, either Chacha Chowdhury or Billu, Pinky and the entire gang, or the Nagaraj gang and all. But anyways, this Chacha Chowdhury specifically, I think there was one TV show that was done. Late 90s or early 2000s, wherein Raghuveer Yadav was this thing, Chacha Chowdhury. I don't know what happened to that show, but then that's something that should be done in a very, very well manner.
You're right. Raghuveer Yadav ka ek Chacha Chowdhury aaya tha a few years back. Yeah,
I just recollected it, but pretty sure this would be something interesting.
Can I bring in a sliver of controversy here? So growing up in Calcutta and in Bengal, I think, and being introduced to the world of Tintin and the Franco-Belgian sort of comics very early on, I always intuitively look down upon this North Indian originating, cohort of comics like, let's say, Doga, Chacha, Chowdhury. I did hear about them and I did consume them a lot as well. But somehow, like, they didn't quite make the cut in my head and heart, right? The writing was always not really in depth, right? So I think Oni is a huge fan of that world. So hence I wanted to ask Oni, what did you think, and where did you place Chacha Chowdhury in your head? Was there a comparison, or there was no comparison at all? You accepted all of it as it?
In hindsight, Sabu was a bit of an exaggeration. Right? But I love Chachi ji the most.
Okay.
Right? But Chacha Chowdhury had its own, books ke andar chupa ke read karo kind of situation.
Jesus Christ, Oni will make a very good Sabu. I just realized.
It looks almost like that.
Pardon my French, but but it inspired superpowerdom without having to, depend on superpowerdom, right? I mean, it was obviously a big. There were a lot of puns that were very good, and when you read them today, you're like, okay, that was a pun no one got, or very few people got. But they had their own cultural resonance. I think the whole generation grew up on it. Talking about Chacha Chowdhury is always a fun way of talking.
And Pinky Bidlu make it sort of a universe as well, right? All of them, correct? Rocket.
Those two schmucks.
Is Pran alive, or is he?
That's the DC universe, by the way. Diamond Comics universe.
Wow.
You know that, right?
Okay, my next one is a bit of a big one. There is stuff happening with the brand, but I believe in my arrogance, it is not enough. So, and I think we were discussing this, right? Hindustan Motors, right? And I could come off as exaggerating, but a brand like that can have so much. The Ambassador, the most sturdiest car in the world. In today's times of cuts and sleekness, Ambassador stands out as that big massive truck you would drive in. But God forbid, the full seat in the front is and being comfortable with it is possibly the best. It was two sofas stuffed into that car. Come to think of it, but I think Ambassador, the sheer quality credentials, I don't think anyone questions it. It's among one of those few brands nobody asks quality about, right? I mean, not even the political parties. You can imagine how sturdy it was, pun intended. Yes, I think the Hindustan Motors, the idea of Hindustan Motors, right? Very few brands could pull that off. I mean, from the logo to what you could do with the Ambassador car if you were to renovate it, from a contemporary design, ethics, in the future sustainability perspective, imagine all those ships and trains and all that metal that can be, taken from scrapyards and, talk about a sustainability story. I would do that, right? I would look at power. I would look at creating a brand, and I'll come to the second brand within Hindustan Motors, which is also very close to our hearts. Which would long term talk about e-vehicles in the country, right? You could huge benchmark to kind of peg yourself against, but it could be the Tesla that India could pull off, right? Because it had so much backing. And I think there's a whole generation of us that wouldn't think twice if Ambassador came back with something that was like, this is delicious, right? And if somebody because I don't think the design is ever going to run out. The design has its own love, right? It's round dish, round headlights. It's like it's got its own little design love, right? And call me traditionalist, but that works. I think the other one, that the other end of the spectrum would be the Contessa, and the Contessa to take all the Audis of the world. That would be something.
The Cadillac, it's like the Indian Cadillac.
It's the Cadillac, right? But in the modern context, the Cadillac, I'm not so sure how massive it is as a generational brand. But the Contessa being the sleek car right? Would love to be seen in. The Contessa could be the one that extends its experience of luxury in a very different way, right? And imagine if you were to make Contessa the car that the Taj owns, right? Or you overhaul it in a. I don't think the design sensibility was wrong, and I think they kind of lifted from the Ford Mustangs of the world at that point of time. To be honest, but it had its own feel driving in a Contessa. The name Contessa has its own, you know, the Queen walked in.
It's fancy names they used to give, no? Ambassador, Contessa.
Contessa. I mean, it was the Sarkari. I mean, it was the official diplomat.
Like one of those Bhavan palaces, you can just see nothing but the Contessa being there. Right?
And I could walk into Contessa with the most expensive of malls also, and I would be comfortable with it, right? Correct. I think Contessa needs a resurrection in a way that, you know.
No, so I just thought about it. I think if Air India is getting resurrected by Tatas, I mean, Tata should be the one resurrecting Hindustan Motors. And imagine a complete film. Like you get out of the airport and you drive out in the ambassador car.
And
get into a Taj Hotel, Heritage Hotel. Like.
You know what? Basically, what is happening? Like while we are talking about say Hindustan Motors and all Air India who are dying dead, simple deaths, there are certain brands like Ashok Leyland, right? So which are synonymous with the big trucks of the world, and they're still going strong, and they're still going strong because they have been constantly innovating and doing things which are keeping them relevant in the current scheme of things. Right now, what they're doing, they're investing heavily on electric vehicles, on the commercial electric vehicles, so to say, and they're going to become really big, which is why their stock prices are zooming up right now. And I think this is something that I don't know if Hindustan Motors still is there or not.
It's there. It's there. It's still got some of the plants around. It still has the unions around for sure.
That is not there.
There were multiple JVs with many foreign manufacturers just to sort of bring some monies in. I think just a couple of points of view on this, Oni and Jenna, that in general, making retro cool will be a theme for many of the brands that we're talking about, right, across categories. Right? I think one example that comes to my mind, a completely different category is what Saregama launched Carva with. I think they did a fantastic job of, just contemporarizing, contextualizing nostalgia and doing something with it, right? And I think I see Hindustan Motors being sort of brought into a new avatar like that, which gets seeped into popular culture. Like, for example, I can just see a future Anurag Kashyap movie or let's Anurag Basu movie, which has like one of the Contessas or ambassadors in a very nice, chic, retro way, right? So, and I can just visualize it, right? In some form or the other. Yeah. And also maybe that can have one of those old school print ads sort of coming back, right? Like when there is a lot of copy, a lot of well written, thought through copy to go with this, right? Like at 60 miles per hour, the only thing you hear is the clock or something like that, right? Like imagine bringing that back. But the problem, and sorry, I think that's a constant problem for all the brands that we are choosing, is who will buy it? Like, will nostalgia see the brand through to bring in the monies? I don't know. Like, how much would nostalgia or retro cool matter to the actual buyers of the automobiles or other products? What do you think? Any point of it before we move on to the other brand?
So, if I may on this one, so I have very specific thoughts on this one. It's about you rightly mentioned this thing, Saregama, right? So, that device itself lends its design from the Murphy radio and all the radios of the year, right? Yeah. And very specifically, they have designed that thing based on that. So there is a nostalgic element to it. Yeah. What they did brilliantly was they ensured that this is packaged as a gift to your parents, to your this thing, and all these things. And right now, the buyers are buying it just for that, because I'm not buying one for myself, but I love to buy one for my dad, thinking my dad will love it, right? So this is what this product is getting sold as we speak right now, and this is, they have done really smartly, packaged this good and created this need in the market.
No, but Jenna, you are right. That was the initial go-to-market strategy, to launch it with, targeting it as a gift for the slightly older member in the family. But then they smartly again got out like contemporary playlist versions of the pre-packaged, let's say 1,000 A.R. Rahman songs or something like that, right? So which were for you and me, right? So that also they got out subsequently. So they created a different version for the other members in the family as well.
Yeah. I have a quick side question linked to this. Vinyls are coming back.
Yeah.
Do you think cassettes will ever come back?
Oh, I so want to again use the pencils for what they were supposed to be used for. Yeah.
बैटरी नहीं खर्चा करेंगे, उसको घुमा लेंगे पेंसिल से.
Yeah, please.
The
But
Renault
vinyl-
I miss doing that. Oh.
You know what? Vinyls came back because vinyl had this aesthetic aspect to it. That beautiful machine, that massive mic, and the vinyl record itself brilliantly. They have killed the entire aesthetic sense around it. Cassette, and what happened after vinyl records, there are multiple other things that came through as well.
Yeah.
Right? So all of them have not. We do not recollect them so fondly. Even the cassettes, we do not. It's like, okay, this is memory, but we don't have fond memories of the cassette, right? The only memory that we have is
I do.
the,
Like
the-
the
the-
cover.
Have you enjoyed
seen
the folded
oh
cassette?
yeah,
Covers?
of course, yeah, that part. Yeah, my bad. That's
Such
that's
storytelling.
something that I'll always miss. But that was just for a couple of years. It was not there before. It was
I
Have
don't
you
know
broken
why.
a cassette and thrown the reel over electric wires?
Yeah. So I think the other bit that I want to sort of segue into is, again, staying within what used to come as content is, it's not really a product or a brand per se, but the 90s ads. Like, and I think there is no other brand which sort of typifies this genre than Pepsi and the entire Prahlad Kakkar, storytelling that happened. And I think, I mean, three of us at the end of the day are marketers, and in some way or the other, we obviously have a love and a passion for this stream of work. And I think that genre of advertising sort of made us fall in love with marketing and advertising
Right.
in general, I would say. Right. So I really don't see that loved storytelling anymore. Like it's so, and I want to repeat that one, like it's zip zap zoom advertising today, and it's so focused on the product, it's just not funny.
Yeah.
Right. So
Call to action.
It's so call to
I mean,
action.
Dil Mange More still resonates. I'm like, of course, Dil Mange More. I mean, like,
Yeah. So those things which stayed back, like Dil Mange More is one example, but and I think the smart thing that brand or that that brand of advertising did was how they used different celebrities and sort of kept them new avatars or with every second future rendition, right? So Anuja Chauhan or whether it be all the people behind it at that point of time, of course Prahlad Kakkar, etc. And I wish that sort of
Bulky.
storytelling advertising comes back.
I don't recollect any ads right now which are running which have a beautiful storyline unless and until they are 3 minutes long, right? Those that I would say Dag Achhe and other things which are there which connect well with the ad. But sometimes the brands become preachy and all. So that playfulness is not there anymore,
Yeah.
right?
And I mean,
that playfulness,
and like you go glorious with playfulness. Matlab,
yeah.
the sets, the sound, people
Yeah, I mean,
dancing, it's like a
Audi
Bollywood.
Jenna, I'll tell you one sequence and you'll realize, and it will instantly create a connect with for you, right? Like the truck comes in and Shah Rukh twirls, and there is Rani and Kajol on both sides, and he just like dances, right? And you want to grab a bottle of Pepsi. If that's not call to action, I don't know what it is.
So yeah, the third one, Rasna died. I don't know why. Did it die because it was too it became too cryptic product to be created at home. But I have very fond memories of the summer vacation, and Rasna came together. They're like all the colas, the mango flavor, the mixed fruit flavor. Mom would create, and we'll just devour them within a week. So I don't know why it died.
I think convenience killed it.
Yeah. But
when you
do
could
you
grab a
think,
bottle which was already manufactured, open the bottle and sip it, the convenience was easier because Rasna, you had to have that small bottle. Oh, fuck, too many memories you brought, Preetam. Huh? Rasna, that small little concentrate, then you had to mix it in the jar. And you wish they didn't make it that, the mums didn't make it too liquidy. You wanted that full, strong flavor. And it stays in the fridge, which you keep sipping the whole day and get over over with it. Guess ko kya pilaenge?
Yeah, that big glass. Yeah. No, I think I'm sorry. While listening to you, I just Googled. I think Rasna is very much alive, by the way. But the reason that you don't remember that Kareena Kapoor is the face correctly, or there is an energy version of it, is because it's doing a not so good job of marketing it today, right? Clearly. Right. And it's not really bringing back the associations which were there with the brand, Jenna, Oni, and I, which we do remember, right?
More so from a marketing, I would not say marketing. I think distribution is the main problem. I'd never see Rasna in the stores, in any of the stores, even the smaller ones, the bigger ones, where I see. And I think that becomes a bigger thing, right? So everybody talks about marketing and all. Distribution is one of the.
I mean, come on, marketing has distribution as one of the P's. So what I'm trying to say is, you're right. One is, of course, physical availability, which they have to solve. That's not something that probably three of us can talk and do much value addition about. But I think in terms of the mental availability, they're not doing such a great job as well.
Rasna did, and I think Preetam just mentioned it, right? Summers. You knew March, April, Rasna was in the grocery bag, right? It was there. I think what Rasna did was two things. It kind of misinterpreted the health movement and it just didn't pivot from a health. So they did vitamins and blah, 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 but I think everybody else was doing that. And the other thing was they went into powders and see, there was, and touching on Rasna, there are two things that are very cool about bottled beverages. The 2 milk bottles left outside your door and the Rasna concentrate are iconic memories. Right? I mean, milk packets took over and then Tetra packets took over and all that. But even if today I get somebody who comes and refills 2 milk jars at the door, I would still go for that service, even if I had to pay extra. But I think, Rasna has that summer peg, like they own summer. If they were to remarket it, just keep owning summer. They still own summer, right? And the orange drink or the mango drink in summer with a full jar of it. I would throw in alcohol also now that I'm an adult, I can say it.
I'm not too sure they own it still, but I think that's the association you have, or someone like
Smirnoff and Rasna. Yes.
Okay, that was Jenna. Oni, your turn.
Poppins. I'll keep it short. Hard-boiled candy for a person with a family full of diabetics is not the best thing. But Poppins had its own joys, right? I think Poppins was the few hard-boiled HBCs that really had that color, this thing. And in the age of color, where color stands for identity, when age, it's about gender fluidity to, gender sexual preferences are being, spoken about in color. I think for that generation, Poppins has its own space. Maybe they come back with more nutritious versions of hard-boiled candy, whatever the hell that would mean. But I think Poppins has its own, carrying the Poppins in tiffin rooms and giving it for birthdays, and 2 Poppins, sharing it with everyone, which everybody from Polo and everybody kind of then emulated and copied. But I think Poppins was its own fun candy. You would go and buy a 1 rupee. What do you call that SKU? Do you call that a roll or what do you call that? I don't know.
It's a whatever.
But you get the point, right? It's like multicolored and everyone has its own little flavor. And yes, if they could, I would love to resurrect Poppins as its own little flavor.
So 2 thoughts on this. One, I mean, I think brands like Skittles come visually very similar to that. And I was really fortunate to see a session at Cannes where David Schwimmer was talking about Skittles, and he's the face of Skittles.
Whoa, what is this? Is this a scene from the new Skittles Super Bowl ad that only one person will ever see? It seems like that's what it is.
Exclusive the rainbow. Taste the rainbow.
And I think companies like Mars, they do a great job of advertising these brands with new storytelling and with faces which are very unexpected, but they sort of render a new character, right? So I think Poppins needs that sort of a resurrection. Just listening to you, I think there is a lot of contemporary storytelling potential behind a brand like this. And second, if I may add a wish list to similar diabetic resurrection brands, Chiclets and Fatafat Please. I think those two will be my wish list to sort of relaunch in the same cohort.
I think the health card is being played too much across various categories. I think there are certain products which just leave it aside, right? So If it's a candy, nothing can be. You cannot make it healthy by just infusing vitamin D, C, A, B, K, whatever.
East India Unite. Yeah. Rasgulla, Mishti.
Let's just have sweet and fun.
Yeah, just have it and just forget about it. Like,
I mean, saying like no sugar added and all that. I mean, it's better if you don't lie and put stuff out and sell stuff like Poppins in their true avatar, in some context.
Hogwarts edition of Poppins would be fun.
Wow.
Earwax.
Yeah.
there will be so many editions if you can think about it, right? Like there'll be one blue edition altogether, like cricket teams, this thing, and so
nice.
many things will come through, right?
Vomit flavored? Anyone? Vomit flavored. Just for that look on his face, we should launch a flavor.
There's a thin line.
You're wearing that shirt, by the way.
Okay. Moving on from vomit flavored Poppins to my third choice. I think again an entity that I have very strong core childhood memories on, which is circuses, Indian circuses. So I come from the northern part of Calcutta, and there's this place called Shiti More and Shiti Circus Maidan, where I definitely have winter memories of attending those circuses and multiple shows. And of course, my wish list is to sort of relaunch Indian circuses, Ajanta, Gemini, Royal Indian, etc. But keeping in mind the sensibilities of today and still sort of doing it, right? I think there are fascinating old Indian tricks and trickery and again storytelling opportunities which sort of telling you that why is no one thinking about this, right? So what do you guys think? Like any global examples of this, Solil of course comes to my mind, and look at a great job that they do to customize the offering as per the destination that they're going to, right? And imagine like, and by the way, circuses have great renditions and customizations in history in different parts of India as well.
So this, what is that? There is some Kingdom of Heaven or something, right? In Gurgaon?
In Gurgaon.
It used to be
that's a circus in a whole different context. But
yeah. Zamguda, there's a show called Zamguda, which
anyway. So those are, I personally haven't been to those shows, but then I was assuming they would be doing these kind of things wherein they'll create massive sets and these over the top things people would be doing on the set. So I was assuming these are the things because just not talking about the circus in a pure sense. For example, all these cabarets, right? Cabarets in Thailand and other exotic places, they have these brilliant shows, massive scale, beautiful design, beautiful people on the stage, and doing like jumping, doing acrobatics and other things which are there. And there is a specific audience for that. There are lots of people. Those shows always go houseful, and I'm assuming it becomes a part of the culture and becomes entire experience of going to Thailand per se is that cabaret show, right? Similar thing I think can be built around in India. That entire itinerary based aspect of Indian holidays I think is missing is that way. India has not built it's not built for tourism in a way. All of our monuments and others set aside, we have not built experiences amongst these things.
I was thinking when you were saying these culture, the local this thing, I don't know what they call it I think they call it the Great Indian Rope Trick, right? Or but in Bengali we call it Ronpa, which is basically you stand on sticks.
Ronpa is different. Ronpa is the one that you're describing.
The one you stand on sticks and you this thing. Those are very rooted in local ideas, right? And being able to bring those, right? I think they've appropriated them randomly with the Motka Kua shit and all, but I mean that doesn't account for me to circus. Circus is gymnasts or people with flexible bodies that scare you out of your wits, jumping, and you're like, don't fall on the net. But just the idea of someone flinging this thing, just catching someone. Those are and the idea of magic shows within it. Like Rishi Sharkar had its own.
Have you guys seen Jadugar on Netflix? Again, a TVF production. I mean, they sort of in back of my head that connected with the thought of resurrecting circuses, right? Like bringing back magic shows. Magic shows were a key component of circuses. And if I don't know whether you have been to one of the Disneylands. I remember going to the Hong Kong version, and in there they had this attraction called Lost World, which in my head was like a circus sort of a option but in such grand scale. And it again got me back to those winter memories again, like, pulling off some of those gymnastic trends, acrobatic trends, and but at that scale and in such a beautiful way.
Do you think that appetite is being whet by the dance shows in India? Because the dance shows are really out of
Yes, something,
ordinary
right? They're like,
nowadays. They're brilliant.
Yeah,
They're like,
yeah.
I think that's one part where we have evolved beyond ordinary, right? That's very similar to what the circuses used to
Correct.
do, and all those jumps and acrobats and other things. So would you actually go out and see the same thing again?
I'll connect one of your ideas back to this. Why don't we have a Doordarshan sort of a Disneyland equivalent wherein we have circuses, right? And that can be the televised version which comes on Sundays. And if you want to experience it, attend one of the Doordarshan parks. How about that, right? So it's sort of
wow.
think about it. So,
Doordarshan theme park.
yeah. We should IP this right now, right? Seriously, that's the universe. I mean, Disney is doing that, right? Disney is doing that. And by the way, I mean, the future of TV is that experiencing it in your house, like through AR. Probably you will be, seeing that with some Oculus or something.
Wow, circus in the AR would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, imagine.
I mean, you'd have kids falling off sofas and shit, but then we'll see.
Much better than them spending on metaverse, whatever my son keeps on doing. Anyway, yeah.
Okay,
great.
I had one more final one.
Yeah.
The auto rickshaws. Now, I come from an auto rickshaws perspective, and I was talking to you guys earlier. There is something about a transport system lending a city's, as Preetam just said, experience identity, right? You look at the Tube, you look at the New York. I mean, there are movies made out of it, and that becomes part of the ecosystem of rebranding something, right? Or you look at Venice and its boats. They call them boats? Well, gondolas, sorry.
Gondola.
Don't judge me. We still have the lowest point with Zip Zap Zoom. But you look at trams. You look at trams in this thing which kind of gets plugged in the same points, right? Calcutta, right? With the auto rickshaws, right? If you look at most of these kitsch brands trying to appropriate India in their desi cool communication, they throw in an auto rickshaw, right?
Yeah.
But to really think auto rickshaw is something that you would want to own and a regular vehicle in this thing. And I'm talking about comparisons to even something as the Vespas of Rome and Amalfi, right? You want to own it. It's just a basic scooty, but it lends the idea of driving around in Italy, right? Or the Ford Mustang in the US countryside, right? Those are stuff that lends a particular city's identity. And the way auto rickshaws are everywhere in India, right? You could create so much storytelling if you just resurrect them, renovate them, and tell each city's story through its auto rickshaws, right? And there is complexity to it. There is unionization. There is, it is still considered a middle class and poor man's transport in India and all that. But there are ways of renovating it to give it that iconicity of identity.
I love it. I mean, and immediately while listening to you, my mind went back to two examples of commercials, two different countries, and to talk about the potential of the idea that you just shared. One, I think, is the MasterCard commercial with, or was it Visa? Sorry, the one around Pierce Brosnan where he sits on a tuk-tuk, right, and the guy goes texting around. One of those, MasterCard to Visa. But in there, the vehicle is shown in a very aspirational, adventurous way. Yeah. And my mind goes back to all the other associations of autos shown in Indian ads where it's definitely just the opposite. Like it's typically the auto driver who's shown as the father and the daughter is sort of overachieved, right? The association is of being garib.
There are 3 auto rickshaws in Apka Surur in Germany.
Apka Surur in Germany. Okay, but I would say that's an exception and not the rule, right? So I think there's a crying need to sort of bring in some aspiration and again storytelling. I think I used the word 10 times.
Basically, the tuk-tuks in Thailand.
Wow,
are
tuk-tuks and TikToks, nice. I like the same.
Almost
we give them an idea. Okay.
Same stat. So anyway, in Thailand, the tuk-tuks are not your general modes of commutation. They are used as these tourist traps, yeah. So, but just to give an experience of Bangkok street culture and everything. So while I say that, I see what you guys are saying, and but the thing is, I have a little different view from both of you on this one, because I believe there is enough and more auto rickshaws everywhere, be it on the in the TV, on the big screen, on the streets right now, and that's what is actually creating a lot of problems within the ecosystem of the big issue with our daily traffic situation is all built around auto rickshaws. If auto rickshaws are not plying on the roads are a lot better. There's like too much of it on any other cinemas. There is South cinema, you'll have all the auto walas, there are songs around auto walas and Rajinikanth and all these things.
Like choreographed songs, they're like lining up.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Sorry, please do continue.
No, so which is why I'm saying when you say resurrect the whole auto concept or the tuk-tuk concept, so to say, do you? I would rather want tuk-tuk to be just an experience, not be your general mode of commutation on the road. I would always prefer the country moving towards a bus or a metro or these kind of public commute. Which is what we need in our larger context within our urban living standards. It augurs well with that. Our tuk-tuk will take us backward.
Okay, I'll name my last brand for the day, and then listen to your reflections as well. Yeah. So I think this is again not a brand which is not Indian. It's a brand manufactured by Mattel, the toy manufacturers. He-Man. I think Netflix did try to resurrect the universe with the series sometime last year, but it didn't really make the cut in my view, right? So my memory of He-Man is that toy coming at 60 rupees, a princely sum back then, with a book at the stashed at the back, and then collecting it and then creating that Castle Grayskull and all of that. So I think now that I can afford this princely sum, but I search for it and I don't get it, and that really makes me long for it. Yeah, like I wish that toy universe is resurrected, because I tell you, there are some brands who have done a fantastic job of resurrecting themselves and from the same universe, like Lego. Lego, by the way, was struggling big time 25 years back. And look at what they have done by in fact curating the feedback from people and just working on those insights and completely reinventing themselves. And now there's a movie universe and whatnot. I mean, and somehow He-Man and Mattel, they're not really cracking it, like the Motu universe, Master of the Universe. So I don't know whether any of you have any association, any memories to do with He-Man.
I specifically remember it used to come with Pepsodent and all. Right? There's some toothpaste they used to get for free. Hey, what happened to that culture altogether? I don't see any more these toys being a giveaway with something.
One brand killed it. That ugly egg thing that comes with kids are talking about. That brand has killed it.
No, absolutely. But my son just keeps on munching the two brands, Choco Pie and Kinder Joy. So I think that freebie culture is very much there, Jaina. But I think it has become scannable. Like everything is like soft. It's no longer like tangible gifts like you and I liked. Like G.I. Joe Complan was an association in my head. Like I wanted to collect it all. And if you had the same one, you wanted to exchange it with other friends in school when you came back after summer vacation.
So. I had a specific this thing. So I was doing internship with Perfetti. So Perfetti back then, if you remember, Perfetti Center Fresh came in with those cards, and I used to love collecting those cards, and that's how my association with Center Fresh is all about those cards, and I still have a bunch of them in my home. When I was doing this thing, nowadays nobody gives those cards and all, right? So when I was going around doing my internship, I was doing this sales and distribution thing across Gujarat, going on beats and all. I would ask them what happened. So do you guys remember the times when they used to give those cards, and they would tell me specifically that sir वो बहुत मुश्किल होता था रखना, वो सब मैनेज करना, बट वो सब अच्छे से जाता था. तो बच्चे आते थे सीधा उठा के जाते थे 10, 12, 20, 30. अभी उनको देना पड़ता है change में. They would be giving one Alpenliebe or things like that.
That has also been killed because of the Paytm UPI culture.
But that's the thing that McDonald's does really well nowadays. Like they have been doing.
The Happy Meal.
It's a very profit-making thing. I understand. Maybe I'm wrong in this one. But I think Happy Meals are not going anywhere. It makes a lot of money for them.
Cool. So collectibles in general, I think Jaina just rekindled one more memory to as we wrap the episode up.
Oh.
We wrap the episode up, guys. Yeah.
Collectibles and me, you know that
Yeah,
story.
yeah. We will have one more episode. Just going
Merch.
through Ronnie's
Merchant
room.
brands.
So we talked about Hindustan Motors, Circuses, He-Man, 90s ads, Rajdoot, Doordarshan, which was my favorite in this episode, and whatnot. But if you wanted us to talk about something else and you wanted that to be the next brand, please feel free to share that in the comment section and let us know.
Or you just tell the stories around your favorite brands that you want to resurrect. Will be very nice to know that.
Awesome. Chalo, end recording, please.